Neto wasn't exactly comfortable to fly with. It hadn't occurred to me that he had perhaps not been in an airplane in a very long time, or possibly ever.
What is that noise?
Neto would ask me every 20 minutes or so. Jesus, Neto, that's just someone asking for, I don't know, some more peanuts. I told you that 3 times already.
Sorry, I thought it was a different sound. I'm sorry, I will try to relax. Maybe we could switch seats again. I think I'm more comfortable after all by the aisle.
After switching twice more, we were then, fortunately, only 30 minutes from the Burbank airport, our little detour, and Neto seemed to calm down.
That fast?
Neto said happily it was good to see him relaxed again, at least in that moment. The rabbits slept in their carrier below Neto. I think she slept the whole time by the sleepy look of hers when we disembarked. No bad dreams there, it would seem. Although it would draw attention to us, we decided to walk from the airport to the metro, a rather lengthy affair. I put the carrier and our bags in a storage locker, and Bunny rode on my shoulder. Another thing drawing attention to us would be this blue bunny, who seemed selective about activating its concealing flames. But I knew that a pet with dyed fur wasn't that unusual in these parts, especially attached to an aged-looking stuntman and his gothic-looking nephew. I had a bungalow in Burbank once. I said out loud for some reason, without much reason to tell him that fact.
Ah, this is Burbank. I think I've heard of it. I thought this was Los Angeles.
All the same, LA is more a state of mind than an actual geographical location.
That's funny, Harry. I didn't remember you as being funny. What do you mean by that?
Oh, I don't know. I used to go back and forth between the coasts, this last century at least, but I probably spent at least 50 or 60 of the last mostly in Los Angeles. Funny thing, nobody seems to notice me. Not that I haven't gotten to know some people, but maybe they assume I have a great plastic surgeon, or maybe it's because the folks I met back when are either dead or deranged. In any case, anonymity isn't too hard here. Maybe why I made it my home for so long.
So where is Hollywood?
Neto asked. We'll walk for a short hour or so, then take the train. That should be only 30 minutes or so.
Fine. The weather here is not unkind this time of year.
Certainly, although it would be nice to spend the year's end somewhere cold for a change. I've been craving some snow. Bunny indicated she wanted to get down and kicked forward a bit from us to munch on some dandelion she'd spotted growing in the sidewalk.
Is it safe?
Asked Neto. Should be fine. This whole place was farmland just a blink ago. It's covered in cement and superficiality, but underneath there are some stable roots. Bunny had the instinct to go covertly as we descended into the North Hollywood metro. It occurred to me that Neto would get a few more stares here due to his resemblance to that actor he'd informed me about. Doubtful that his shy, nervous demeanor would make many think that, however, though who knows? There's nobody as deceitful as a film actor. Arriving on Hollywood Boulevard, we lost Neto about 7 times as we made our way through 2 Johnny Depp pirates, a red and black Spider-Man, Darth Vader, that big yellow sponge man, but it was Edward Scissorhands that made Neto cross the street and almost get hit by traffic.
I'm sorry, Harry. I'm fine.
Said Neto, smiling and leaning against the coffee shop entrance.
I know, it's just pretend, but I'm still a little sensitive, I think. Sorry, I won't run off like that again.
I looked across the street. The Scissorhands were waving to us with a concerned look, as if to apologize for scaring Neto. Neto waved back. Bunny, steadied and surrounded by her flames, had a perplexed expression. This way, we'll take to the hills soon. There'll be less people, I promise.
It's okay, Harry. I'm having fun. The bad sleep these many days just caught up to me, maybe. It's a lot, this place.
Yes, it is. Conceivably, my place was under some kind of surveillance. But when I remembered that the painting of Agatha and Neto had trackers on it, I was surprised previously to find that it wasn't showing up anywhere. I needed to see for my own comfort that it was taken and not destroyed, although I didn't tell Neto my justifications for our trip. My neighborhood had a variety of cameras, all conceivably appropriated by the right people, but I wouldn't be long. Neto and the bunny waited on the street. I told him if for some reason a taxi passed by that he should hail it, which was unlikely but gave him something to occupy his mind, which seemed a little hazy, to be honest. I surprised myself how quickly I made my way up the hill. The time in Simon's care hadn't really caused any long-term damage, it would seem. Whatever back pain I thought I had felt was quickly suppressed with the adrenaline that rushed in my veins as I envisioned coming across those who had broken into my home that day. I kicked off the cement pillar buttressing my house and vaulted as soundlessly as possible onto the patio out of view of the inside living room. It didn't seem like anyone was there. There wasn't the mayhem that I'd expected. I slid my card to open the patio door and entered, holding my breath for a second, nostrils flaring. It still smelled like garlic from the last meal we shared together. It was no surprise that they were both gone, my pictures of Neto and Agatha, but it hurt nonetheless. They had been brusquely wrenched from the wall, leaving damaged paint which made me anxious. The rest of my art was still there, including several pieces that could easily have fetched a few $100,000 on the black market in a blink to the right buyers. I didn't want to tarry long, but I took a few steps into my bedroom. The sheets were still spotted with blood from Simon's neck. Or was it the wine from the bottle that lay empty by its side? Either way, not my finest moment.
Sorry, no taxis.
Oh, fine. Let's go. It didn't take long before we caught a taxi, funnily right where I first met Simon on the strip. It crossed my mind that this driver would be all a setup as well, but somehow that kind of efficiency felt doubtful. I put it out of mind. Apologies, Neto.
For what?
Oh, that the paintings aren't there.
Oh, I see. Well, they're yours, Harry. None of my art belongs to me, it feels, once I finish them. I'm sorry if they are lost, but perhaps not forever. They made it this far.
Well, we have a few hours before we need to head to the airport. Where would you like to visit? The beach?
Sure, maybe. Whatever you like, Harry.
It occurred to me mid-ride that we didn't have time for the beach considering the traffic, so we turned around and instead went to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Bunny was able to scamper around a bit, though was startled around a corner by a peacock, who was startled by a cat, one of many it would seem that inhabit the grounds. Bunny quickly regained her composure, however, and the animal seemed quite sure about not wanting to engage with her, almost as if she had flashed some kind of invisible badge.
Well, no surprise there.
What's that?
Oh, nothing. Just, she's a confident bunny, We've known each other a little longer, Harry, that's all.
So you've said. We passed a few stars of the cinema. A few I'd known passingly, though I hardly felt like mentioning to Neto. Across the way, we saw a man with a camera pointed in our direction.
What do you think? Should we go?
Nope. That's a pap. I can tell by his camera strap. Not a PI or anything like that, I don't think. Probably just trying to get a good look at you.
I wonder what it would be like to be famous. I think I understand why famous people live here. Driving around here feels like you're escaping. It must match the feeling in a familiar way, like one is always on edge, like an action movie disappearing around every corner.
Yes, the place feels a bit like an amoeba sometimes, despite it being on a grid. There, he looked at his camera and is going away. I don't think it's a worry. Still, we may as well if you're ready. We lost the bunny for a bit and found her quite fittingly in front of Toto's tomb from The Wizard of Oz. She looked at us inquisitively. Neto looked uncomfortable for some reason, but I suppose he was looking uncomfortable every hour or so for one reason or another. I knelt down and Bunny scampered up my arm to my shoulder. The waiting taxi had quite the meter running. I'm sure it would have been cheaper with an Uber or whatever, but in times like these it's a nice thing not to have anything like a smartphone where one could possibly be tracked by nefarious parties. Cahuenga to Barham and then to Luz in Toluca Lake, who was still open, for a few apricot tarts. Silly that, we'd be in Europe soon enough. But I needed to taste something familiar on the plane, some continuity, a thread that would promise that I would return. Neto was quieter on the plane ride. Suddenly mid-flight there was some quite powerful turbulence that woke me from my slumber, but when I looked over at Neto, he was just staring out the window, at the lights of some city below. He looked over at me.
Did the, what you call it, turbulence wake you, Harry?
Yes, rather strong. Are you okay?
Oh, it's okay. I don't mind that as much. It's not anything I don't understand.
I leaned down and saw that Rabbit looked awake. I let her out and she scrambled onto Neto's lap to look out the window. I tried to go back to sleep but couldn't quite. Through the corner of my sleep mask, I could see Neto whispering in the bunny's ear, and the bunny giving almost an imperceptible nod. Then Neto laughed. Then it looked like the bunny was laughing too. I must be tired. I did doze off a bit before we landed in Iceland for our layover. I dreamt of steam that looked like the bunny's flames. Agatha swam to me. We were in a natural hot spring. At first I thought we were alone and I reached to kiss her. But then the lights, like from an airport runway or a movie set, surrounded us and everything became a blur. I couldn't make out Agatha's face and wasn't sure it was even her, until the ground was shaking and all the water around us shook and evaporated. And then we were landed. Our flight was delayed and then delayed again, so we would spend a night in Reykjavik. I told Neto I'd like to go to a hot spring, and he told me he'd probably walk around the town if that's all right with Bunny in tow. An attractive woman with a face like a moon swam up to me while we were immersed. She asked me if I was perhaps famous, perhaps from the UK. She heard my voice at check-in. No, afraid not, neither count. I tried to smile, but I think I must have just stared at her intimidatingly. And so she blushed, said goodbye, and swam backwards, smiling at me with a cute little wave, like a memory of a different time drifting away. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad.